Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Escucha. My name is Abby Herrera, and I am your host. On today's episode of Escucha, we are going to be doing our very first installment of Café Con Chisme of the semester. Now, if you don't know what Café Con Chisme is here, if you're a brand new listener, Café Con Chisme is our pop culture segment here on Escucha, where we talk about all things Latinx pop culture, all while reviewing a brand new coffee shop in the Long Beach area. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about Bad Bunny's newest album and also review a brand new shop called Viento y Agua, which is Latinx owned here in Long Beach. I am so excited for today's episode. We have Bad Bunny, we have coffee. Those are two things I very much enjoy talking about. So let's get into it, everybody. Now, as far as today's topic, I, of course, want to talk about Bad Bunny's newest album, Debí Tirar Más Fotos, which came out at the end of January of this year. Now, this album personally took me by surprise when it came out. I follow Bad Bunny on Instagram, but I don't pay too much attention to what he posts on there, if I'm being honest. And I did hear about it because to me, it kind of just like dropped. And I was like, whoa, new album's out, right? So when it came out, I heard a lot of people talking about how how it was about him missing his ex-girlfriend, but the girlfriend before he dated Kendall Jenner, which was hilarious. And everyone was like, wow, imagine your ex drops an album about the girl that he was with before you. Now that has to be embarrassing, just clowning Kendall Jenner. And I thought that was pretty funny, if I'm being honest with you. So knowing that, I decided to give it a listen. I thought it was like a heartbreak album. So that's originally what I thought going in. But it is so beyond what I expected that I had to come on here and make an episode about it because it's just such a great album. I really liked it. So if you haven't heard, Debí Tirar Más Fotos is not just an album about heartbreak. It is a mass love letter to Puerto Rico, which is beautiful because Bad Bunny has always been an advocate for Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans in general because, he's just very connected to his community and his culture, which was very beautiful to see in this album. It is very heavy in salsa and also reggaeton, and those are two very different sounds that just mash together and just create something beautiful. And in the album, he does say that he wants to do reggaeton because it came from Puerto Rico. And while it did come from Panama, it was more popularized in Puerto Rico and has been since like the 1980s, I believe. So it's just a fun album. It's a sad album. And it is so beautiful, so let's get into it. In the opening song of Bad Bunny's newest album, he samples Un Verano en Nueva York by El Gran Combo de Puerto Rico, which is a band, and the song came out in 1975. And it is such like an interesting blend of what he does with bringing in that sample and continuing that sound with his own take on salsa with that Bad Bunny sound mixed with salsa. And it's just a really great song, but I feel like the best thing to come out of this song is all the trends that have happened with it on TikTok specifically. I have seen so many people who post their Cuban, Puerto Rican, or Dominican grandparents or parents, and they show them this song. And so the beginning of this song begins with the sample. So it just sounds like old school salsa. And you see like grandparents get up, start dancing because they remember, dancing to this music back home or when they were younger. And then Bad Bunny comes in with his sound and you just see like the look of delight and the change in mood. And it's been nothing but positive, which has been so beautiful to see different generations, being introduced or reintroduced to music that they knew growing up to being introduced to this new style of music, which is so fun to see. And while the album has like salsa and reggaeton involved too, you do hear the songs about his heartbreak and how he feels and how he misses the woman he was with earlier in his career. It's just, I can't say enough that I really like this album, and people who I know that don't really like Bad Bunny really liked this album too. And that was just like so cool to see how versatile he is. very much reminiscent of how I felt when listening to Un Verano Sin Ti, but if not more culturally rooted. Now, a lot of people are saying that this is a love letter to Puerto Rico, which I agree. If you listen to the album through and through, he is talking about his culture, what it's like to be in Puerto Rico, what it was like when he was growing up, who he saw, how he saw these people versus what Puerto Rico looks like now. So back then, he's painting this beautiful picture of, Benito as a kid. But now that he revisits Puerto Rico, all he sees is over-tourism, gentrification, things that hurt the native people of Puerto Rico. And he does this specifically in his song Lo Que Le Pasó en Hawaii, which is a song about gentrification and over-tourism. Okay, so quick little history lesson here. Hawaii was invaded and marked as a U.S. territory very, very long ago, and then it later became a state. Puerto Rico is also a U.S. territory. And just knowing the background of Hawaii's history and thinking about the context of Puerto Rico's situation now and its relationship with the United States, it makes the song a little more somber because the native people are just being pushed out by this territory that owns them, that, doesn't really grant them any sort of ability to have regulation on over-tourism or gentrification. So in this song, he talks about people wanting to destroy the rivers, to take over his neighborhood, to kick out my grandma and people that have lived there for so many years, because now people are coming in and they're like, oh, wow, it's so pretty here. Maybe I should stay. Maybe I should go to XYZ places and take all these pictures or start a business or make it prettier, make it better for more tourism to occur here. And it's a very sad song because it is not only a plea to people listening to not have this happen to Puerto Rico, but it is also, I feel, a song about unification within the community to prevent this from happening. But what he's saying in the song, he also wants Puerto Ricans to all be unified and to prevent this from happening, because once over-tourism and gentrification happens, then the culture goes away. All the people go away. All the beauty goes away. All the things that he is paying homage to in this album are going to disappear. And that's exactly what he doesn't want to happen. And even though this is a song about Puerto Rican culture and the Puerto Rican experience, but many people have been using the song on TikTok as audios to show off the beauty of their own Latin American country. So I've seen Mexico, I've seen El Salvador, I've seen Colombia. I've seen all these countries use Lo Que Le Pasó a Hawaii because they are facing the same type of gentrification over tourism. For example, I've seen so many people use Lo Que Le Pasó a Hawaii for Mexico, and people have used it in the mass deportation aspect and the immigration aspect. But I've also seen people post videos about El Salvador. So they recently found gold in El Salvador, and the government over there recently overturned a 7-year bill that prevented mining of minerals and metals because they wanted to mine for gold. Now, I have seen many Salvadorians use this song as well in the context of mining in El Salvador, because it would not only ruin the natural state of the country and the natural beauty of the country. Where are you going to put all the people that you're going to be pushing out of your homes because you want to search for all this gold? You have to think about all the people that are going to be displaced, the economy, and how the economy is going to suffer in terms of paying for this overmining. And you also have to think of the pollution of the mining and how that's going to affect the natural environment there, because, it's a very small country. Most of the country is pretty rural and therefore naturally beautiful and thriving pretty much. So as soon as you introduce something like overmining, it's going to drastically harm the ecosystem there. And not just the ecosystem, but like I said before, the people as well. So that's the context of that song in El Salvador. But I've also seen people in Mexico use this song in connection to the mass deportations that are happening in the U.S. In the song, he talks about how the people don't want the natives here. California used to be a part of Mexico before we invaded it and before we separated everything. So now they're like, well, they don't want us in the States, even though we provide them with so much. We are a huge part of the economy, but it is obvious that they don't want us here, so they have to send us back. And it highlights the disparities of mass deportation and the dehumanization of what's going on with immigrants in the song, or in the context of the song that people are using. But it also, at the same time, highlights the beauty of Mexican culture. It's just so amazing that this song, though about one thing, can be applied to so many different countries in Latin America. I believe that's why the album has touched so many people in Latin America, because yes, it's about Puerto Rico, but there are so many places that struggle the same way. Te vi tirar más fotos, which is one of the last few songs on the album, or which is, the song that the album is named after. That one I saw so many people using on TikTok to memorialize those who have passed away. And to think about, well, I should have taken a step back, and I should have taken more pictures with my family. I should have enjoyed the moments, but also captured them as well, because you don't know when you're going to lose these moments. And I think that's so beautiful. And there are so many songs on that album that I could go into, but those three I feel have had the most impact on social media as what I have seen personally. I want to know if Bad Bunny with this album had the intention of impacting not just Puerto Ricans, but other Latin Americans alike. Because yes, as I've said, it is a love letter to Puerto Rico, and he has always been an advocate for Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican rights. We've talked about this on recent episodes, where he's always cared about his people, especially after natural disasters. He was out voting in the U.S. election, advocating for people to vote in Puerto Rico in the 2024 election. He was raising money for the hurricanes and everything with his new song. Even with the release of this new album, he is prioritizing Puerto Ricans who actual Puerto Ricans that live in Puerto Rico to see him on tour first. But I want to know, did he have the intention of creating this unity and this sense of community with all of Latin America, or did that just sort of happen? Because personally, I think that just sort of happened, and it's really nice to see that is something that has developed and occurred over time, the longer this album has been out. Okay, so I'm going to take a break from talking about this album because I could go on and on and on. Today's coffee shop that we are reviewing is called Viento y Agua. It is located here in Long Beach. It is a Latinx-owned coffee shop. It's on 4th Street, and it's only 10 minutes away from CSULB. I looked up the place on Google, to be honest. I was looking up Latinx-owned coffee shops because, frankly, I don't know too many in the Long Beach area, aside from Black Dog, which we did review last semester. So I found Viento y Agua. So I decided to go there this morning. I asked the barista, I said, hey, what is your most popular drink? What do you recommend? And they do have their popular drinks listed. I remember seeing a café con leche, which is just coffee milk. Oh, so standard latte, I would say. But it was 3 shots of espresso. They also had a matcha, which was really popular. I know they have a Mexican mocha, which I know a couple other coffee places have that as well. But she also recommended an horchata latte. So that is what I got today. And I thought that was really interesting because I don't see many Hispanic coffee shops offer horchata lattes. I have been to various places that they offer like café de olla cold brew or horchata matcha lattes, but never like an horchata latte itself. So I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and try it. Then she asked me if I wanted it hot or ice. Of course, I always get my drinks iced. And then they offer 2 sizes. They offer a 12 ounce and a 6 ounce, which is really nice. A lot of coffee shops also don't offer various sizes. So I really appreciated that as well. She asked me what type of milk I wanted. And of course, I got oat milk because my tummy can't handle anything else. And then a really interesting thing that she asked me, which I haven't been asked at any coffee shop before, was, do you want it less sweet or do you want it on the sweeter side? Which I thought was interesting. It is always a question I'm asked at like a boba shop. Like how sweet do I want my boba? But I've never been asked that at a coffee shop, which I really appreciate because I'm not a person that enjoys super sweet coffee. I like to enjoy the coffee flavor that's complemented by sweetness. So I really appreciated that they asked me that. So I asked, okay, can I get it less sweet? So when they handed it to me, I originally thought it was going to be like horchata with like 2 shots of espresso sitting on top, kind of like how Starbucks does their macchiatos, and that I would have to mix it up. But it was an already like mixed together latte, and there was a lot of cinnamon on top. I will say, for something that is advertised as an horchata latte, it honestly does not taste very much like horchata. It is very much just coffee and milk tasting. So it pretty much tastes like café con leche with a little bit of cinnamon. Or actually, there's a lot of cinnamon in here. I'm not even going to say a little bit. There is a decent amount of cinnamon. So I will say, if you are not a huge cinnamon person, this may not be the drink for you. I, however, love cinnamon in my coffee. My favorite latte of all time is a dark maple cinnamon latte, which is a latte with maple syrup and cinnamon. So I really like this. As far as the name goes with horchata latte, you feel like you're going to get like an horchata tasting drink with a splash of coffee. I would probably name this a Spanish latte just because it's more up the alley instead of an horchata latte. Nonetheless, I still think it's really, really good and enjoyable. Really strong coffee, I feel, which I really enjoy. So if you like sweeter coffee, I will say just ask for it sweeter. If you're a non-sweet person, ask for it non-sweet. So highly recommend, if you're in the Long Beach area, to check out a Latinx-owned coffee shop. Yeah, I believe my rating would probably be an 8 out of 10. This was a very good start to our Café Con Chisme over the semester, and I'm so excited to see what other coffee shops that we're able to find. Back to Bad Bunny. I know I spent so much time just complimenting this album and just admiring him for what he's done for the Latino community, but something that I saw online was a very interesting, very different take than what I personally have, and it was that this album felt disingenuine. And the reason why people were saying that it felt disingenuine is because, I mean, we all know he used to date Kendall Jenner. I believe they were dating for over a year at least. And he dated Kendall Jenner, spent a lot of time in the States. Then they broke up, and that's when he went back to Puerto Rico. So a lot of people are saying that he is pretty much just capitalizing off Puerto Rican culture and the message because he dated someone that is the exact opposite of what he stands for. Because we know before he dated Kendall Jenner, he was always advocating for Puerto Rico. And after they broke up, I saw that he was continuing that advocacy, but it was during the relationship where there was, I believe, a brief pause, or it wasn't as loud as it used to be. At least that's what some people are saying. I believe he has carried on his pride and his culture throughout this entire time that he's been in the limelight. Many people are saying this because Kendall Jenner, as we know, has her own tequila brand, 818 Tequila, which a lot of people did not like that she started many years ago. I also do not like that she started it as, you know, as someone who is half Mexican. I just thought you're only here to capitalize off of culture and not to actually know about the culture that you're using to make extra money off of. Like, she's not connected in any sort of way to Mexican culture. So why did she go and create this tequila brand? So a lot of people were arguing that Bad Bunny's idea of anti-gentrification and anti-tourism is just used for popularity because he dated Kendall Jenner. Now, I do believe that's a very interesting take, and I do understand what those people are getting at. Because, I mean, it's true. Like, you advocate so much for your culture and for the purity of your culture, and you don't want anyone else to come in, colonize it, or gentrify it or anything. But you date someone that is an epitome of that, and that has done so many things, including continuously own a tequila brand when she has zero connection to Mexican heritage or Mexican community or culture at all. And so many people are saying, well, I think Bad Bunny's album came out as disingenuous to me. I think he's just using it as a cash grab. And you know what? Maybe they're right. Me personally, I have always seen Bad Bunny as a proud Puerto Rican. He has always been an advocate for Puerto Rico. As I have said earlier, he was out there trying to get people to vote in the last election. He was raising money for the hurricane. He has always been so humble and connected to his culture that while this take is very valid, and I do understand where people are getting at, I just don't think it could apply to Bad Bunny in this situation. But I could also be biased because I do very much like Bad Bunny. I think he's such a... I would love to meet him. All I gotta say, I would love to meet him. I believe he's a really nice guy. Continuously, Bad Bunny has always loved his culture. So while that point may be fair, I don't think it applies here. I don't. So that is my take. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to me just talk about Bad Bunny. I will do it again. It's probably sometime soon. But that is all I have for you this week. I will see you all next Tuesday. Bye.